What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first ever HnH Podcast. My name is Uzaifa Rana, and I'm joined by my younger brother, Hamza Rana, and we cannot wait to start this journey with you guys. Hamza, today's the day, man. How you feeling?
We feel great. We feel great. This is a long time coming. A lot of discussions circling around this day. Here that we're happy it's finally happening, and we're really excited about this.
100%, man. Honestly, I want to say for the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been talking a lot about starting potentially starting a podcast. And today's the day. We're finally here. Man, this podcast is going to be exciting. For those of you guys watching and what to kind of expect, it's going to be a sports podcast. Two brothers. We come from a very, very athletic sports family. Our uncles play the next level. My dad played cricket and floorball and field hockey. Our mom was also an athlete as well. We come from a very, very athletic family, and we love sports. We love sports more than you know. Talk about it every day, lunch, dinner, breakfast, anything. So we thought, why don't we just put a camera in front of us and just start talking sports? For those of you who don't already know, we are diehard, diehard Dallas Cowboy fans. So we will be talking about football. We will be talking about the NFL, but we're going to kind of gear a little bit to more towards the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, 5-time Super Bowl champions. This is the year. This is the year. So that's pretty much it. Talk about sports, talk about the Cowboys, and we're ready to go. Hamza, any thoughts on that?
No, I think you kind of nailed everything. Big time Dallas Cowboys fans, but it's not just going to be about Dallas. We're talking about almost every team in the NFL. Things that go on. Training camp. Throughout the season, we'll be talking about games that we're excited for, matchups that are must watch. Even fantasy football. But also not just football as well. We'll be talking about almost about everything. Other sports like basketball, soccer, hockey. We'll be talking about a little bit about everything and some friendly banter as well. It's gonna be fun. Just stay tuned.
Yeah, the purpose of this podcast, man, is just to have some fun, spend some time away from work, away from everyone else, and just kind of you and I talking about sports. We have a lot of very exciting things planned for everyone. A potential some special guests down the road, and just a lot of Dak Prescott would be unreal. One day, yo, Dak, if you see this, please, please, please come on to an episode of the HnH podcast. That would be a dream come true. Honestly, jokes aside, that actually would be an unreal experience for us, but we're a long way from that. We got to start somewhere. But all right, Hamza. So you already touched on it. Let's hop right into this thing. Training camp was underway this past week. Tomorrow we're recording on a Wednesday, July. What day is it today? July 30th.
Yeah.
July 30th, correct. So tomorrow will be the first kickoff to the new season with the Hall of Fame game between the Chargers and the Detroit Lions. We're not going to talk about that right now. Let's talk about training camp. What are your biggest takeaways from training camp around the world, around the league? Anything you kind of want to touch on?
Yeah, this is a very exciting time for NFL fans around the world. We're just a month away, about a month and a couple of days away from a first regular season game. Fans are excited. Everyone's excited. And training camp is the closest thing that we can get right now. And, surprisingly, again, another year, the biggest headline this year is contract holdouts. And two of the biggest that come to mind are Micah Parsons and Trey Hendrickson. This is, again, it's kind of ridiculous that, people of these caliber players are heading into a year where they need to get, their contract extended and nothing has been done yet. Was it for what's going on, man?
No, it's actually not. Jokes aside, at least from a Cowboys perspective, as fans of the Cowboys, and we're in a couple of group chats as well with some Cowboy friends, and they've also expressed their frustration. This is kind of, from a Cowboys perspective, we're used to it. We understand that Jerry likes to take his time, and he'll eventually sign these players. So Micah, hopefully he gets signed relatively soon, but that got extended on the opening day last year against Cleveland, so you never know with Jerry. But yeah, the Bengals actually was reported that Trey Anderson actually reported to camp. He still said that the talks have not moved forward. And, you look at a guy who led the league in sacks with 17.5 last year. 2 years ago, he got also 17.5, and he was second behind TJ Watt, who just got signed. $41 million a year. It's beyond me. And so the Bengals, we know that they've had some issues with their front office, and Shamar Stewart just recently signed, but it's just another one of those things where guys are not getting their reps, guys are not getting paid on time, and could have hurt their team.
Yeah, no, this is especially crazy after the season that Trey Hendrickson had. Like you said before, 17 and a half sacks. Last year led the NFL. And, one of the biggest issues for the Bengals last season wasn't an offense. We know how good Joe Burrow was last year. We know how good Jamar Chase was last year. It was their defense. The Bengals would score like 40 points per game, and their defense would allow 50. And getting your biggest guy on that team on the defensive side, and he's still not, in training camp practicing, and still doesn't even have a contract. And the fact that wasn't the first thing that, came to mind as soon as the offseason came around last season or this past season, whatever, is why not pay our best guy? Yeah. Again,
it doesn't make sense.
It's crazy. I'm not sure how, there hasn't been a contract yet. And Trey Henderson has expressed before, like, this is where his son was born in Cincinnati. He wants to stay here. There's nowhere else where he wants to go. Like, this is where he wants to be. And again, I'm just surprised how there hasn't been a contract yet. And for Micah's sake, like, again, we dealt with the same thing last year with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. Week 1 against Cleveland, a couple hours before the game, Dak got his contract. And then late August, CeeDee Lamb got his contract. This is something the Cowboys love doing. Yeah, don't know why, but it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a great segue comes into our next topic that we want to talk about, and that is America's team and the Dallas Cowboys. Mike, obviously the biggest headline, the contract negotiations. But Hamza, we've seen clips on X, we've seen clips on Instagram and on YouTube. If you were to say right now, who is your biggest player or takeaway, I guess you can say, from the defensive side of the ball, who is the one guy that stood out to you on the defensive side of the ball here in training camp that you expect to have a big year for us this year?
Well, Dallas actually did make quite a bit of moves this offseason. They acquired Kenneth Murray via trade and a late round pick swap. They signed Dante Fowler Jr. to a 1-year, $8 million deal. They signed Solomon Thomas from the Jets, defensive tackle, and they also got Peyton Turner. But someone who I think has been sticking out the most is a former first-round pick from the Buffalo Bills, Kaiir Elam.
Yes, sir.
He's been playing great
right now
in training camp right now. I like a lot of what I'm seeing for him. He's very good zone coverage corner. He's a good ball hawk. I'm not sure if you've seen the clip where he literally ran the route for Jalen Tolbert. Like, that wasn't even a bad ball by Dak Prescott, but he literally just ran the route for Jalen Tolbert, got the pick. And they even lifted a kid out from the crowd and did the whole Simba thing like that.
I wish that was me.
I wish that was me. But yeah, I think Kaiir Elam's been playing great. I think he's had a great training camp. He's had an unfortunate start to his NFL career. Hasn't really been playing the greatest. He kind of became a rotational guy for Buffalo this last year. And, Cowboys, again, they're hoping to get the best out of him, as this is a contract year for him. So, we're hoping. We have a lot of high hopes for Kaiir Elam. And again, we don't want to get too excited because, don't want to be disappointed. But I think Kaiir Elam has been playing great, and hopefully, this translates to the field.
Yeah, Kaiir has been unreal. I think, and also on the other guy on defense that I think we should keep an eye on is Jack Sanborn. He played in the Eberflus system in Chicago. He came here to be kind of that green dot guy. Green dot meaning he'll be the guy kind of carrying the plays from the defensive coordinator Eberflus and relaying it out to the defense. So I think he's another player that we should watch out on defense. Offensively, man, bro. Okay, before we get into my player for offense, how scared were you when we got the news a couple of days ago that yet again another key player suffered an injury? I can't speak right now. Suffered an injury in Oxnard. And Tyler Guyton, when I got that first news report, man,
yeah,
I was like, there's no way. It's like, it feels like the 4th year in a row that we've lost someone due to an ACL or some sort of ankle or Achilles injury. Last year, Sam Williams.
Yeah, in training camp as well.
What was going through your head, man? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no.
Again, what was going through your head when that
happened? Again, it's crazy. This is training camp, and not only just Cowboys players getting hurt, but again, a couple players around the league are getting hurt during training camp. I forget the cornerback's name for Miami, but he also tore his ACL. Um,
Yes.
there's some other players around the league. Again, don't remember their name off the top of my head, but yeah, Tyler Guyton. They were scared that was a torn ACL, but it turned out to be just a bone fracture in the knee. He'd be out for 4 to 6 weeks, and hoping to have him back week one uh, against Philly. That'd be best case scenario. But worst case, we'll have him week two against the Giants in Dallas. Yeah, for sure I got scared. Also, even though he's again he had a down year last year, we're hoping would bounce back. But another guy who was out for a majority of last season, he flashed in one game against Cleveland. Kalen Carson, he also got
Man,
injured as well, 4 to 6 weeks for I think it was also a knee injury as well. Yeah, like
there's something in Oxnard, dude. I'm telling you right now, there's something in Oxnard. There's something wrong with the field. There's something wrong with something there.
and
But
Brandon
dude, every
Ford too,
year
the tight end. He also got hurt as well. Like
he was having a phenomenal camp too, from what I was hearing. My twin, people actually say, check the images right now. Spanford, he's my twin. Um, Crazy dude. Like every year, someone's getting injured, dude.
yeah,
And at training camp, Sam Williams, look at that. Like Sam Williams was supposed to have a breakout year last year. Hopefully, knock on wood, this is the year he does that. But man, but
yeah.
like you said, good news. It's just a bone fracture, so he should be back. I think the timeline they said was 4 to 6 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
so he could be coming back. That was a big scare for us. I know people. Shout out to our Cowboys chat. There were some really angry and upset people when that first tweet came out by I think it was Scheffner, but then Todd Archer came clutch and made sure that it was just a bone fracture. So that was scary.
Dude, I mean, bro, like he, he didn't have the greatest first year. He had a lot of holding penalties. This stupid offside rule when you're like when you're like a centimeter off the line. He had to hit a lot of that. Um,
It's so annoying.
it's so stupid. But again, he's a former first round pick from Oklahoma. He had a lot of high expectations going into last season, and I feel like you can't really judge him off the first year. Just as a rookie, you know, he didn't really do much. And then he had a whole nutrition plan this offseason and he felt a lot better. He got bigger. He lost a little bit of weight. Like he turned the fat into muscle. He was looking good, looking fast in training camp. And then hear the news and like, bro, like there's no way we're gonna have another season with Austin Richards left tackle again. No, no diss to Austin Richards.
Actually, hold on. Don't be hitting Austin Richards. He's actually a stud. He's actually a stud.
I know, but
Yeah, I think.
we drafted a first round pick tackle for a reason.
No, you did. You're right. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that news with Dallas with Tyler Guyton. So we talked about Kyrie Elam on defense. Offensively, I think there's only one player that we can say we're most excited for. GP3. GP3 baby. The excitement that I have for this guy is through the roof. Um, I saw a stat. I forget from where I saw it, but I saw a stat that since joining the league, only Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson have more vertical catches than George Pickens.
Yeah, it's
You add
ridiculous.
that to Dallas, where CD and Dak already have phenomenal chemistry. So defense is obviously going to shift over towards CD. You can't play them one on one, either of them. Like I dare any defense to try to go one on one on GP.
Mm-hmm.
I dare any defense to try to go one on one CD. It's not possible. And potential hot take. You can clip me if you want. This is the best duo in the NFL. I respect Jamar Chase. He's probably going to be receiver one this year in fantasy. T. Higgins is a great receiver, but if George Pickens' athletic ability and is able to catch the ball in the most unique ways, partner that with CeeDee Lamb and Dak at quarterback, I think it's definitely the duo of the year. Way better than AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. That's not even close. Way better. I wouldn't say way better than the Bengals, but I will say it's better than the Bengals.
For sure that is
I
a
think it has to be.
that is a take for sure. I'm not gonna express my opinions on that right now. What I think who the best duo is, but for sure, I think this acquisition the Cowboys made is significantly going to help this offense. We've seen the clips of Pickens already in camp. He's making some crazy catches. He's creating a lot of separation. He's overall having a really great camp, and a big time issue with the Steelers is that for the receiver's sake is that there's a lot of attitude problems. There's a lot of issues in that kind of sense for the Steelers, and we've seen the clips from Pickens. Again, they're only clips, but we don't know. But again, I don't think the players will just lie about that. But Pickens is having a great time in Dallas right now. He's liking the offense. Him and CD Lamb are like super gelled together. Is going to be extremely excited to watch. I'm very excited to watch this duo come in this season. And again, this is like the perfect receiver that we needed. Going into the draft, a lot of the Cowboys fans and we're excited for Tedero McMillan, the rookie out of Arizona. Now, I believe if Tedero McMillan was on the board at 12, then that probably would have been the Dallas pick. But they took guard from Alabama, Tyler Booker in the first round, and then again with Pickens, he's a deep threat, and that's one thing that Dallas needed. We need another deep threat. We had Brandon Cooks last year, but again, he wasn't the same Brandon Cooks that we saw from years ago with the Texans or the Patriots or whatever. He's played for so many teams in the league. I don't know. But yeah, Pickens is going to be that deep threat guy, and like CeeDee Lamb said himself, it's not going to be a AB. It's going to be one. The other side's going to be one.
For sure.
That's the guy that Pickens is going to be, and I'm extremely excited to see what George Pickens will do with his offense.
Another thing, too, before we go on to our next topic, is now with GP in Dallas, it puts less pressure on a guy like Jalen Tolbert, who, he had an up and down. He's had an up and down career. He's made some big time catches for us in big time games. You go back to the game a couple years ago. I know it was a tough loss, but you look at that deep catch he had against Miami a couple years ago. He had his breakout game last year against Pickens and the Steelers last year. So now there's less pressure on him. He can now slot perfectly into that receiver 3 spot along with Jonathan Mingo. It now creates balance in our offense. And we didn't even touch about it yet, but is Jake Ferguson just got signed now. For the first time ever, I've seen the Cowboys sign a player well before his contract is due. I think it's just about a year out. He is now signed. So what I'm trying to say is getting a guy like Pickens not only helps CD create space and Dak find another weapon, but now it spreads out the wealth. Now guys like Tolbert and Ferguson are also going to be able to eat, and the run game as well, which we know we've got some acquisitions: Jaden Blue, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Deuce Vaughn. This guy Hunter Lepke as well. Like these guys now are gonna chill. Deuce Vaughn's nice. These guys are now going to be able to create space.
You just know exactly what I'm thinking of when you say Deuce Vaughn, and I'm hoping he's watching.
I hope he's watching too.
But yeah, anyways, I was gonna say that with Pickens, what was I gonna say with Pickens? Yeah, no, with George Pickens, again, we haven't had a receiver like that since 2021, which was Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper left in 2022. I think he left in 2022. But the last time the Cowboys had 2 wide receivers with 1,000 yards was in 2021 when we had CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. And I think this is a great chance for Pickens to be able to get that. Also, what I was originally going to say is that this is a contract year. This is a big year for Pickens. He wants to play his
Great
best.
Point.
Again, contract.
He wants to play his best, but he wants to act his best too.
Exactly.
People are going to say he's going to crash out. He's going to do some crazy things. Man, this guy's in his contract year. He's going to do everything he can to be in his best behavior. And people are starting to, from the outside perspective, you say he crashes out. It's just a guy who's confident, a guy who loves the game of football, and he was going to do everything he can to help his team win. So I have no worries at all about him crashing out at all this year, especially with the contract year coming up.
Also, the thing is with Dallas this offseason is that they've signed a lot of people with a 1-year deal, or they traded for players who have where their contract's up by the end of the season. Like we mentioned before, Kyrie Elam, Dallas declined his 5th-year option earlier this season. Kenneth Murray, who's on a 1-year deal. Jack Sanborn's on a 1-year deal. Dante Fowler Jr. is on a 1-year deal. All these people, they're coming into this new Cowboys culture and system with high hopes going into the season as it is a contract year. So I have very high hopes for Dallas this season. I think they're going to be great, and I think all these guys are going to be a contributor.
I agree, 100%. And we'll, like I mentioned in the opening, our Cowboy fans, and we'll touch on the Cowboys a lot more throughout this podcast throughout the summer, and we'll give predictions on the season and maybe potentially some postcasts after Cowboy games as well. A lot of exciting stuff with regards to the Cowboys for the podcast and also in the season. But Hamza, I want to go to our next topic here, and this is something that I was thinking about earlier today when we were thinking about some ideas to talk about the podcast. Um, Going into this season, and I'll ask you first, and I'll answer myself. Going into this season, out of all the teams, we'll take Dallas out. We'll take Dallas out. So out of 31 teams, what team are you the most curious about? What team are you kind of like, you know what, they had this kind of year last year, but in the draft they did this, and now I'm expecting them to do this, or they made these moves in free agency. What are they going to do this year? Did they make a quarterback change? So I'll let you go first, and I'll answer myself. But what team are you the most curious about, and why heading into this season, besides Dallas?
So yeah, I have a couple teams in mind, and I'm just gonna say two, and then one of them I'm gonna go more in depth than I did the other. Number one, I'm thinking of New England. I think New England spent a lot of money in the offseason. They they signed Milton Williams from the Eagles, who was a great run defender and he was great at rushing the quarterback as a defensive tackle. They bring in Carlton Davis from Detroit as a corner. They brought in Harold Landry, a linebacker from Tennessee. And then in the draft, they wanted to protect the quarterback. They wanted to bring in a guy who's, in my opinion, the best offensive lineman in that draft class. Shout out LSU, Will Campbell. I think Will Campbell's going to be great. And also, they brought in one of my favorite running backs from last year's draft class, Travion Henderson. I think this team is going to be exciting to watch. True. I think the Patriots are going to have a great defense. I think this offense is going to be good. I forgot to mention they also brought in Stephon Diggs. So, again, this is going to be this is a very busy
brother of Trayvon Diggs,
for this for this Patriots team, and I think that's a team to definitely look out for. But another team that I had in mind was Seattle Seahawks.
You're picking two teams? What? You're picking two teams even though I said pick one?
I said in the beginning that I'm going to pick. I have two teams in mind. One team I'm going to go more in depth than I did the other.
Okay, sure. Just change the rules, but it's all good. Change the rules, but it's all good. Okay,
dude, so why are we acting
your second team?
There's no rule in the freaking anything that I'm not allowed to do.
Okay, it's all good. I said pick one, but it's all good. Okay, so New England and
then I'm thinking of Seattle. I think Sam Darnold's gonna have a good year. Sam Darnold had a great year last year, except for the last 2 weeks, whatever, if you want to say. Fifth in passing yards last season. Obviously it helps when you have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, but then also Seattle brought in Cooper Kupp. They did a pretty good job in the draft. They got Gray Zabel, who was a guard. Brought in Nick Murray out of South Carolina, and also someone who I'm very intrigued with is Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. I'm curious to see if he gets any opportunity later on in the season. And I think Seattle's defense is going to be great. I think Seattle's offense is going to be great. I think Jackson Smith and the Jigba
are they
have a good year.
Are they winning that division?
It's going to be tough. I don't think San Fran's going to. I think San Fran's going to be 3. I'm still debating between LA and Seattle. I think it's going to be tough. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to have not a Puka Nacua season, but he's going to have a Puka Nacua impact in terms of that's what Cooper Kupp does when he has a player like that.
Yeah.
So
it's very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay, so Seattle's your team. Okay, I respect that. And you picked New England too, so you picked two teams. I will stay by the rules, and I'll pick just the one team. That's okay. It's okay. I'll pick the one team, and you kind of already mentioned it with their former quarterback. I'm really, really interested in the Minnesota Vikings. Last year they surprised the hell out of me, and surprised the hell out of a lot of people. 14-3, one of the best teams in the division. Any other division, they're number one. They're the number one seed. Detroit obviously surpassed them in that line. But you look at Minnesota, you look at JJ MaCarthy now, who obviously suffered the injury last year. He's going into technically his first rookie year playing. Justin Jefferson, who's a stud. Jordan Addison, who's a stud. Aaron Jones. Jordan Mason, I think, is super underrated. I think, and we'll get into fantasy stuff later, but Jordan Mason, when Christian McCaffrey went down in San Francisco, Jordan Mason was the guy, and he produced at a very, very high level. Obviously, scheme and everything plays into account into that, but you add him now into Minnesota. I'm really, really interested to see if last year was a fluke or, Sam Darnold came out of nowhere, took the 3, was phenomenal, got a bag and went to Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a fluke, or can someone like JJ MaCarthy kind of play at that level. I'm not saying 14-3, but play at the level where they can compete in the playoffs. And you look at the division as well. That division also is really intriguing to me. I will say, not being biased, the NFC East is the best division of football, but that
Up there with the
NFC
NFC North as
North
well.
is NFC North is up there, and I think you look at Green Bay, Detroit. Now Ben Johnson, former OC with Detroit, getting the head coaching job in Chicago. That team automatically becomes better. Caleb Williams going to second year. So, I'm mentioning every other team, but I think Minnesota is the team I'm interested in.
Let me ask you a
I
question
forgot to
about.
mention one more thing.
Let me ask you a question.
One more thing. One more thing before your question. One more thing is Brian Flores' defense.
Yeah.
He, in my opinion, should have got a head coaching job after last year. He proved that he has a stud defense. I think they were top 5 in takeaways last year. Like, he is the guy with that defense, sending like crazy amount of blitzes and unique coverages and stuff like that. That defense is going to be also improved in the second year with him. But yeah, Minnesota's my team. My one team that I picked, even though you picked two teams.
Yep. That's just what I do.
What's your question?
Um,
What's your question?
do you think it was a good idea for them to let go of Sam Darnold? Or like if you were in the position, do you think would you have kept Sam Darnold for another year or two?
That's a good question. I think they're putting a lot of pressure on JJ MaCarthy right now. I know he won a national championship at Michigan. I understand that, but the NFL is a different game than college football. We all know that, and it's unfortunate he got injured last year. If I was the Vikings, I think they wanted to keep Sam Darnold to kind of be that guy again. Dude, you're 14-3. That's not easy. Go
Darnold played
14-3
great.
is not easy at all. So now they played phenomenal, and so I think. What was your question again? Do you think they should have kept Sam Darnold?
Yeah, like or if you were in the position, would you have at least kept him for another year or two?
I would have liked to keep him for one more year. Have JJ potentially. It's a tough question because I wanted to say that he can sit behind Sam and learn,
But you already did
but
that.
he did that last year when he was injured. He was on the sideline, and he did that already. So, you know what? That's a tough question.
Because now there's a
I'll
lot of
say
like JJ McCarthy has a I wouldn't say big hole to fill, but like, dude, Sam Darnold was
he does. He does
fifth
have a
in
big role.
passing yards last season. He just didn't have a
Yeah,
good last two
100%.
games. And I wouldn't even put the playoff game on him. I think the Rams just destroyed their own line. Also, to bring in with the Vikings, they also brought in uh, the rookie out of Ohio State, Donovan Jackson, with a first round pick, and I think he's also going to be great as
That's
well.
right. That's right.
So that was a big issue with Minnesota last year that their O line was inconsistent at times. Because also, what was that last tackle's name that got hurt? Darrisaw, whatever, Christian Darrisaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got hurt, and then they had to bring in Cam Robinson from the Jaguars last year. So if you're expecting a fully healthy Minnesota O line, I think McCarthy could fill in that role. I personally don't think McCarthy's gonna have as good of a season as Sam Darnold did last season.
No, don't worry. He's a fantasy football sleeper right now. Late round picks, fantasy people, you got to pick JJ McCarthy. Every quarterback that plays with JJ and Jordan Addison, they go off. But okay, to answer your question though, because of JJ's injury, I would have kept Sam Darnold. Because of his injury.
Yeah.
If he didn't get injured, I would have moved on and let JJ eat because he was a first round pick for a reason. Just because of the injury, I would have kept Sam.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. All right, bro. So you picked two teams. I picked one. Let's just remember that you cheated, but it's all good.
There's no cheating. There's no ref.
It's all good. There's lots of cheating happening. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about with you, Hamza, is we've already mentioned it a little bit. We've mentioned some names. Right now, you predict who is your offensive rookie of the year and who's your defensive rookie of the year if you guess right now.
Okay, this is a great
Prediction
question.
right now.
So if you know me not last season, but if you just know me, you know how much I love this one specific wide receiver even more than I did than Tedoroa McMillan, which everyone thought he was a wide receiver one. I really wanted Dallas to draft this guy But some people would have said might have been a little bit too early uh, to pick him, which I disagree. I think Matthew Golden out of Texas is going to have a great year with Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love as his quarterback. Apparently, from camps, he's already looking like the wide receiver one. Even though it's kind of weird, you think about from Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed. I'm not necessarily saying that they play like the same receiver, but they're kind of built the same. Matthew Golden's a little bit faster. He might have a little bit better hands, but I think also Golden's a better route runner. But they're kind of similar in a way. So I'm interested to see what they do next year in terms of that. But I think Matthew Golden is going to have a great year. I think there's a big chip on his shoulder that 22 teams passed on him. I think he was mocked to go a lot earlier. I think Golden is going to have a great year with Minnesota. And Matthew Golden last year with Texas, he had a phenomenal playoff run. I think he was a big reason why Texas was able to stay in those playoff games. And also when Isaiah Bond went down, Matthew Golden stepped up big time, and he became the wide receiver one. He had over 900 yards, over 10 touchdowns. I think Matthew Golden is my pick for the offensive player of the year.
Damn, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so do you want me to go with my offensive guy and then we go defense each, or do you want to go defense now?
Then you go offense.
My offensive guy?
Yeah, you go offense.
Okay. My offensive rookie of the year. This is the low-hanging fruit, but I think that if you look at where this guy was drafted, I know last year the way the Cowboys season had kind of ended, there was a trend happening, tying for Genty. And if you have a guy like Ashton Genty, who did what he did in the NCAA, got drafted where he did, sixth overall to the Raiders. And you have to remember Pete Carroll, now the head coach, with Geno Smith, they love to run the ball. Pete systems love to run the ball. I think Genty is going to eat on that on the offensive side of the ball. I'm talking, well over 1,000 yards. He's going to have a phenomenal rookie year, and I think there's no question in my mind. Genty's going to be rookie of the year for the offensive side of the ball. Look at his speed, look at his durability, his ability to catch outside the backfield. I think there's no question. I'm gonna go Ashton Genty for my offensive rookie of the year prediction.
Yeah, that's a very valid pick. I think my opinion, the two runner-ups are going to be Genty and Golden for sure. Genty cracked over 2,000 yards last year. Had unbelievable highlights with Boise State. Like every clip you saw was him breaking off two defenders and running it for 60 yards. Like Ashton Genty was unbelievable. I wanted Ashton Genty in the beginning, but I had a feeling that he wasn't gonna fall that far. There's no way. Even though he did say he wanted to go to Dallas, but it is what it is.
Everyone wants to come. Let's be real, bro. Let's be real. Everyone wants to come to Dallas. Even non-Cowboy fans want to be Cowboy fans.
Cam Newton said he wanted to come to Dallas. Even Myles Garrett too. Yeah, bro. Come on.
Derrick Henry wanted to be a Dallas Cowboy, but
yeah.
Good. It's all good. We move on. We move on here in Dallas. Okay, so Genty is mine. Okay, I'm gonna go defense. Then I'll let you finish off with the rookies. My defensive rookie of the year, and it pains me to say this. It pains me to say this, but I think this guy's gonna have a phenomenal year. Not only because of how good he is as a player, but on that defensive line, they also have some dogs on that team who are gonna create more one-on-one opportunities for this player. If you didn't already know, my defensive rookie of the year is Abdul Carter. I think he's going to be someone that terrifies offensive linemen fronts in the league for a very, very long time. As a Cowboy fan, it pains me that we have to play this guy twice a year for the next however many years he's in the league. I think Abdul Carter is just going to be a big part of that Giants defense, and I think they will take a jump forward this year. I don't see them competing for the top two spots, of course, in that division, but I think Abdul Carter is my defensive rookie of the year for sure.
Yeah,
very close to. Can I say two though? Can I say two? Because you said two NFL teams.
Yeah,
that you're curious for.
Well, I was gonna say two actually for my defense. Well, I was gonna say one who I think is a good pick.
Of course,
and do two for like a dark horse. Like one's a dark horse, one's a other one.
So the other one is Travis Hunter. So I don't know.
Defensive player of the year?
Defense?
He's gonna be playing everywhere.
It's the thing, but he's a stud, dude. Like we haven't seen someone like that since Dion.
Yeah,
he could. Why can't he win both? Why can't Travis Hunter win both?
Imagine Travis Hunter wins both. Honestly, I actually wouldn't be that surprised if he wins both, because how good Travis
No,
Hunter.
both would be unreal. Both would be unreal.
But
But that would cause a lot of problems maybe. But
yeah,
dark horse is Travis Hunter.
okay. Yeah, and Travis Hunter. Okay. For me, uh, yeah, I'm also gonna go with another edge rusher, but not Abdul Carter. Someone who's probably the most versatile linebacker in the entire draft class from last year.
I like it. I like it.
I'm gonna go with Jalen Walker, who's on the Falcons. Jalen Walker was a phenomenal back. Not back. He was a running back. Phenomenal linebacker for the Georgia Bulldogs last year. He was very versatile. He was able to play anywhere. He was able to play Mike. He played Sam. He played Will. Played on the edge. He even lined up, not a nose, but he lined up at D tackle one time as a in the formation in the as a formation in the playoffs last year. It was pretty unbelievable. Dude, Jalen Walker, he has speed. He's strong. He's almost everything you want as a linebacker. He outside of Abdul Carter, he also reminds me a lot of Micah Parsons. I think Abdul Carter and Jalen Walker are very talented athletes, very similar play styles, very aggressive. I think Jalen Walker with that Atlanta Falcons defense, I think he's going to cause a lot of problems and with the Falcons. And yeah, that's my pick for defensive player of the year, and also a
I like
dark
it.
horse player is someone who was
Yep.
rejected to go in the first round. I'm still even surprised that he went that far, and I don't care that he was injured, whatever, but he's looking really good in training camp right now. I'm going to go with cornerback Will Johnson out of Michigan. That's someone
Ooh,
you got to keep an
yes.
eye for. I think Will Johnson
Because he was supposed to go. He was supposed to go top five, right? Like
and
the original
to
mocks
start the
last year had him
season,
going top
yeah,
five.
to start the season, he was supposed to go in the top five. Every projection, every mock, even Mel Kiper and all these other people like Mike Renner and whoever else does these mocks, whatever. All had him going in the first round, and I was super surprised that he fell out the first round. I think Arizona got a steal, and Will Johnson. I think Will Johnson is going to be great. He's almost everything you want as a corner, and a lot of people were complaining about his speed that he's not going to be as fast, but dude, he looks really fast to me. And then this also might be, I won't even call it a hot take, but he plays very similar to Patrick Surtain, and he won Defensive Player of the Year last season. So yeah, I'm very excited with Will Johnson and Jalen Walker for this season.
All right, clip this for everyone. Hamza said that Will Johnson's the next Pat Surtain.
I'd say the next that he plays very similar.
I know, I'm just kidding. All right, I like those picks. All right, bro. Our last segment for today's episode, which I think has been a phenomenal episode. Hopefully people are watching this and liking and commenting, and we really appreciate it. Honestly, this is something like we said in the beginning. We're really excited to do, and we're just wanting you guys to join us on this journey. So, for our last segment, and before I get into it, as many of you may or may not know, Hamza and I, we both also played football. I was able to play a couple of years at university at St. Mary's University in Halifax, Canada, and then also at U Ottawa. I was actually able to play quarterback. I don't know why it took me so long to say that. It's really embarrassing. But long story short, my brother and I, we are both quarterbacks. Hamza's currently playing Ottawa Sooners. Their first games in a couple weeks. Wishing him the best of luck. So we want to have a fun little segment on this podcast. We're going to start this and see how it goes. We'll call it the QB Battle Royale or the QB segment. We'll figure out the name later. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through every single NFL team, every episode, and talk about their starting quarterback, see what they did last year, and then project what they're going to do this year based on acquisitions that were made in the offseason, based off the draft, based off potential coaching changes, whatever it may be. So on today's episode, on our first episode, the quarterback that we're going to highlight today is none other than Joe Burrow, quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. So Joe Burrow last year, I'm just going to pull it up here right now. Joe Burrow last year had a phenomenal season last year. Also, he's featured on the new Netflix series, Quarterback. But last year, Joe Burrow had 4,918 yards, which was ranked first in the NFL. He had 43 touchdowns, which ranked first in the NFL. And he had a QBR of 74.7, which is ranked third in the NFL. I did some math. Joe Burrow was only 559 yards away from passing Peyton Manning's all-time single-season passing yard record. That's phenomenal.
Dude, he
It's
could
an
have probably got
unbelievable
that
season that he
in a
had.
game. Was
A couple
dude
games
unbelievable?
in a game.
Dude, he was like he almost cracked like 500.
559 yards in a game. Not in a game. Maybe 2
Dude,
games.
he almost cracked 500 that one game. We all saw it in the Netflix
No,
series.
he did. He was phenomenal. A large part of that, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Zach Taylor and the whole staff. But the fact that he was able to do what he did last year with such an awful defense is phenomenal. So Joe Burrow, Hamza, so we're heading into the season. What are your projections for Joe Burrow in this QB highlight package that we're kind of talking about right now?
Yeah, I think Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's. My opinion, he is a top 2 quarterback in the NFL. You're not gonna like who my number 1 is.
Dak and Burrow.
You're not gonna like who my number 1 quarterback is. But my personal opinion, thought that Joe Burrow should have been number 2 in the MVP conversations. I think the guy who won the MVP, Josh Allen, shouldn't have even won. I thought it was clearly Lamar Jackson. But anyways, I think Joe Burrow, I'm not going to say he's going to crack 4,918 yards again, but I'm going to go around the range between 4,500, 4,600. I think he could get into the probably around 40 touchdowns again. I think interceptions are fine. But I think, then his QBR was great, 74.7. I think Burrow is going to stay in that around that area. And again, it all depends of how good his O-line is going to be again this year, even though his O-line was trash. But if Jamar Chase and T. Higgins can stay healthy, that's also another big thing. So that's
okay. So let's hear one more. So how many? So let's go. So how many yards?
I'm gonna say 4,550.
Okay, how many?
Actually, no,
touchdowns?
4,600. 4,600. That's my first one.
Okay, 4,600. So how many touchdowns?
I'm gonna say 41.
And I guess you can. Yeah, well, add picks. How many picks? He threw 9 last year. I don't know.
I think he's gonna throw. I think he's gonna throw 9 again.
Okay, and then QBR is kind of hard to predict, but I think. Okay, no,
he's gonna be in that range.
You think he'll be in the top 5 in QBR?
Yeah, I think he'll be top 5. One second.
Yeah, I agree. I think Joe Burrow this year, and you kind of saw it in the Netflix series as well. For those of you who haven't watched it yet, highly recommend how determined he was and how frustrated he also was that he was playing at such a high level, but the team was not always able to kind of keep up. I think this year the team overall is going to take a step forward. Obviously, of course, if Trey Hendrickson signs that contract soon, but my prediction, I think Joe Burrow is going to. I agree with you. In between the 4,000, I'm going to say 4,300 to 4,500 range. Touchdowns, I actually think he's going to have a little bit less this year. I think I'm going to go between. I'm going to go 30. I'm going to go 38 touchdowns.
Just 30?
And 38.
38.
38, yeah. And then for interceptions, I'll go with. I think he gets 2 more. I think he'll go 11. So 38 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a QBR within the top 10. I don't know how to calculate QBR. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at my projections for Joe Burrow this year, and every episode we will have a QB highlight that we'll go over their numbers from last year and kind of see how it's going to play out this year.
Do you think Burrow's going to have another insane rushing TD like he did against the Giants last year?
Yeah, that was wild. I don't know. He's showed that he can run the ball when he has to.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that.
Let me ask you this though: Do you think Burrow should have won MVP last year, despite his team not making playoffs?
See, the thing is, bro, with the MVP, it's determined too much on the team's success in the season, and it's given to the quarterbacks almost every single time. And it's determined on, although the team didn't do well, Joe Burrow was by far the most valuable player in the league at that position at that time.
Yeah, he was.
I definitely would have given it to Joe Burrow last year. I think a lot of times the NFL awards, especially MVP, is kind of dictated on how the team does overall, but I think overall, you look at his numbers, I think he would have definitely should have won MVP. For sure.
You think who did they draft this year? Yeah, Shamar Stewart. You think Shamar Stewart? Yeah, you think he's gonna crack more than 1.5 sack?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think he'll get 2 sacks this year. He'll get 2 sacks.
Okay.
All right, dude. What a great episode. Phenomenal first episode. I think we have covered a lot of great things, and I hope people watching this stay and watch the whole thing. Hamza, you want to take it away for us?
Yeah, this was really fun. We thank everyone for watching. Hopefully, everyone watched this far. We spent a lot of time discussing about this, and it's really exciting for us that this is finally happening. And we hope people enjoy this video, this podcast, and we're really excited to continue. And then stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for making this far. Please like and subscribe and follow us at the HnH Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Once again, we appreciate y'all.